It's Friday night here on UCY.TV, and you are listening to me, Boiler Room Radio. I am your host, Jim Funke, and my brother from another mother, Lance Musser, will be just a smidgen late. I think he's still driving as we speak, probably listening on his smartphone. So, as we did on Wednesday, since he was late then too, I think I'm going to have to write him up or something. We'll go ahead and jump into the videos that we usually play and give him a chance to get home and sat down and all discombobulated. Let him do his thing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into Greg Manarino right off the bat. I'm going to play him. He is talking about the distortions on Wall Street getting much, much worse. Much, much worse. We're beating a drum here, folks. I hope you're listening.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Gregory Manarino. How are you today? It is Friday, February 28th, 2014. All right, people, we have a lot to talk about, so let's get started here. At the time I am doing this video blog, the markets are still open. As a matter of fact, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 119 points.
Ooh, up.
I want to talk about this. There's a lot going on here.
Continues.
Short covering, as well as some economic news. Again, I've gone over the fact that this market continues to move further and further away from the fundamentals that are supporting it. And we're seeing that again today. Let me just put a perspective on this before I even go further here. Just prior to the last bubble we had, the housing bubble, we had a GDP north of 5% and the market was lower than it is today. We find out this morning that GDP for a fourth quarter came back well below estimates. I believe it was 2.4% versus a 3.2 estimate.
Yikes.
That alone
we don't make shit.
Should have put some pressure on this market. We also find out.
But no, it went up 100 and some points.
Again, below estimates. Not good. So that brings us to no less than 12 rounds of bad economic news that's been fired at this market over the past 3 weeks. But now we get consumer sentiment came in pretty good. I don't know how they're gauging this. Like they believe, or they want us to believe, that consumers are feeling really good about this economy right now. Interesting. We also get the Chicago PMI, which basically measures strength in the manufacturing sector. That came in good as well. But this GDP number is abysmal. The market is completely irrational right now. And I want all of you to get a pen and paper and write this down. I want you to look up the CBOE SKU index. CBOE SKU index. Many traders are not even aware of what this is. Basically, it's a gauge which tries to measure risk or events in the market that could be significant. Now, for example, what I tend to do with the CBOE SKU index is when it's really high, like it is right now, it's flashing red. I'm looking to buy volatility here. It's a nice way to make some cash for yourself in this manner, but it also is very telling. As a matter of fact, the most recent reading, which was just yesterday, we were north of 137. The last pullback we had of 6%, we were at 139. Basically, the higher the number, over 100, the less risk you should be taking on in this market. Again, look it up, CBOE skew index. So I'm not convinced, again, people, that what we're seeing here in the market is going to last. I think this is absolutely distorted. It continues to get worse. Now, I'm going to reevaluate my positions as we move into next week here. We have, again, look at what's going on a global level. There's social unrest everywhere. A black
Russia's
swan
moving
can
into
creep out
Ukraine.
Anywhere, at any moment. So I am still maintaining my position and betting against this market, just like George Soros is, just like JP Morgan is, just like Goldman Sachs is. And again, I think a lot of today is people getting scared and covering their short positions as to lifting up this market. And I'm not saying that the market might not go higher. It might very well go a little higher into next week. It's completely irrational and disconnected from every single fundamental that you can think about across the board. So with that in mind, you don't get shook up over these things.
Gee,
I don't get shook up
like
over these things. If I
administration.
have to take a loss, I take a loss. Period. The end. That's it. That's the way it is. I've had a stellar run, as all of you know, who follow this blog for quite a while. Maybe it's time for me to lose. I can live with that. That's just the way it is. So again, let's put another perspective on this that I started off with. People, the stock markets in the United States are carrying on like we are in the biggest economic boom the world has ever seen, or at least in the United States. The S&P is at all-time record high right now. The Dow may very well try to test those highs again. And it just doesn't make sense if you put this into the thought process that just prior to the housing bubble, we had a GDP twice what we have right now, and the market was lower. Doesn't make any sense here. And again, check out the CBOE skew index. For those of you that are not aware of what this is, once you read about it, you might have a different perspective on what's actually going on right now. And you can use this to trade volatility. For those of you out there that have actually asked me about it, that's kind of how I gauge my exposure.
Did he just say axed?
And it can be very, very profitable. Pretty much that's it, people. I think we covered some really important things today. Again, just keep this in mind that today's market action is irrational, in my opinion. This week did not play out the way I thought it would. That's a fact. But I am still maintaining my position now, and I'm going to watch where this goes. I have not added to any of the positions I am holding. I may add to one though. That is my call on VXX because of where the CBOE skew index is right now, and we'll see how that plays out. And I think it's just going to be very, very interesting, people. And I'll keep all of you on top of this. We'll see how this plays out into next week, and that's all we can do. With that said, today's Friday, people. That means I will not see you until Monday. I really hope you have a great weekend. And if you find this video interesting or important, please hit this little thumb here. Give me a thumbs up and share this video. Let people understand what's going on here. I think people are going to get destroyed in this market if they're not prepared for what may be coming. Again, I've been going over this, people. The prospect of something happening here relatively soon still, in my opinion, seems to be rising. If you just gauge everything, the information and put it together, it doesn't make any sense. We've had divergences that we shouldn't be seeing. Again, go back to this CBOE skew index, all kinds of things here, global geopolitical issues. So there's
fake Jamaican.
a reason why people should not be taking on risk right now. And I think the smart money right now is still on the short side of this market. And, again, if I do decide that I am going to add to my positions, I will let all of you know. Check my site, tradeschoice.net. You can see where I am. at this moment. And like I said earlier, more than likely, I am going to be adding to my long call on VXX. That's it, people. Have a great weekend, really, and I'll see you all Monday. Take care.
Okay, so since I'm not a market rat, I really don't follow all the stuff he's talking about with his longs and shorts and blah, blah, blah. Hey, I think I heard Lance.
You did?
Hey, Lance, he joined the party. Right on.
Yeah.
Hope the drive home from Dad's was all right.
Yeah, it was a little bit of traffic.
Right on. So were you listening? Were you listening to Greg?
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and let you.
I just tuned in when he came in. I was just tuning in. But no, I didn't catch much of him.
Okay. Well, it's all right. You were at work today, so we'll go ahead and throw it to you and let you do the Smoke'em's Market Minute.
I am totally unprepared. I know he probably did. If you did Scott's,
Not Scott yet. I started out with Greg. I was giving.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
okay.
I was giving you time to sit in the seat. So
yeah, I mean the markets ended up today, stock market wise. Bonds took a beating. Our mortgage rates took a real beating today. Sent you that email this morning that you saw on that. Mm-hmm. No new bankers deaths. So didn't have a story, prep for that. So it'll allow us to slide right into Scott really because,
okay.
Yeah, it was a busy day for me. Wasn't able to track down any stories for us.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right, man. I just wanted to give you a chance to chime in there like we usually do in the first part of the show. And after we get done with this whole market wrap-up thing here, we have a special guest coming on that's going to speak about Ukraine and what's going on over there. She's from there, actually, and still has family there. So she has a dog in that fight. And we're going to get the inside poopy. So hold on to your seats. Anyway, until then, we're going to give Scott 2 minutes and 19 seconds to talk about no free lunch, among other things. No ad. Yay,
Hello,
no
this is
ad.
Scott in this Hyper Report. Here are quotes for various items. First, is China set up for a Japan-style lost decade? The extent of unproductive investment in China today is much greater than it was in the case of Japan at a comparable phase of development. China stocks that are down 60% from 2007 highs appear to be saying that there is a significant risk of a major slowdown. China's lending surge over the past 5 years has invoked comparisons to the debt growth in Japan before its lost decade. Next, the high price of delaying the default. The fiat money regime suffers from a number of far-reaching economic and ethical flaws. The burden of debt that accumulates over time in a fiat money regime will become unsustainable. A fiat money bust can easily develop into a full-scale depression. Yet, many will turn to central banks to print money to increase credit. However, this will ultimately end in a collapse of the economic system. Next, what should Congress do? In 1821 and again in 1927, the Supreme Court upheld Congress's right to hold people in contempt and imprison them. Of course, just because Congress could literally start taking prisoners does not mean it is a good idea. So, the question with so many of the Obama cabal openly showing contempt and lying to Congress, why will not the Republicans, who are in the midst of a major civil war with the grassroots movement in the House, not act? Next, get drug tested? Get this. Republicans want every member of Congress and Obama to get drug tested after Congressman Trey Wardell was busted for cocaine. The question is, will they also push the test for mental sanity as well?
Yeah.
Next, your restaurant bill. The next time you go to a non-fast food restaurant, you may want to pay attention to the taxes region of the bill. Needless to say, if the food did not give you the indigestion, then the portion of the tax addressing Obama Rec will. Next, Biden's new base. Biden said that Obama Rec gives women a great deal more freedom. He said that single women with children are only working in dead-end jobs because of the health care. Yes, he apparently wants these people to become parasites on the community. However, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Next, food packaging dangers. A new study warns of serious health concerns related to food packaging ingredients. The synthetic chemicals in our food packages could be doing long-term damage to our health. The best thing is to avoid them. However, if you still buy food with these food contact packaging, transfer them to natural containers like glass, stainless steel, or wood. Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
We've known about BPA for a couple of years now. What makes you think there's not crap in that other plastic that they put against your foods?
Yeah, I've always wondered about that. You know, the water bottle sitting in the sun or Coke can sitting in the sun. And we talked about that the other show.
Aluminum,
but,
period, man. I mean, you get the aluminum just from the transfer, just from the liquid, the soda, whatever you're drinking out of that aluminum can, ginger ale, whatever. And we all know what that does.
Yeah.
We all know that's why the Alzheimer's increase is exponential over the last couple of decades. Sometimes it's hitting people in their 50s now.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of processed food. It's not real food. It's just processed.
Yeah, if there's more than 5 ingredients you can't name, more than one ingredient you can't name, you probably shouldn't be eating it. But,
exactly.
I'll give it up to 5.
If it has to have something for shelf life, you don't want to eat it.
Maltodextrin, that's what they put in there for freshness.
Right. Freshness. In 25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that'll keep your gut flora nice and fresh.
Oh, yeah.
All right. You got anything else to add to that? And the whole China thing's like getting a little nerve-wracking.
It is. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But I know I did read an interesting story today that was, all my themes are costing money or being money or going to cost money. I think, from what I've read and everything else, that there could be a big jump in food prices this year, and especially if not this year, then next year. The drought would be one thing. That's why they're going up. But I believe the honeybees, all these bees dying off, I think are, because they pollinate 130 fruits and vegetables, which are the staples of most of our, foods. So if there's no honeybees, because they're all dying off and stuff's not getting pollinated as well, they were tying that to higher grocery store prices.
I thought that they were coming out with robo-bees for that.
They're going to need to import them because there's so many of them that died, and they released that study on why they died. And it was just a combination of a couple pesticides that metastasized almost. So it was 2 pesticides together that, killed all these bees because they ate it or made sap out of it or whatever they do. That's what they announced just the other day.
Kind of creepy.
It's very creepy because as Benjamin Franklin or somebody said, if the honeybees disappear, you can expect not to be far along behind it or something along those lines.
Canary in the coal mine. I mean, that's exactly what they are. Because if they're not around to pollinate the food, then we don't have food to eat. I mean, we can do the mechanical pollination or manual pollination or whatever you want to, but it's not going to be nearly as efficient. There's not going to be any honey left. You know what I mean?
Yep. So that was mine's abbreviated tonight, but that was an interesting story on just how something so small is going to affect all of us.
Yeah, it's not that small.
Well, size of a bee,
Right. Well, yeah, I get you. 1, yeah.
Right, 1.
500 million, not so small.
Nope.
2 billion, really not small. So, alrighty. I have just clicked on Olga's name to bring her into the call.
All right.
So as soon as she answers, we will. And there she is. Good evening, Olga. Thank you for joining me on Boiler Room Radio.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good. Lance is here with us. I'm sure he's going to chime in through the rest of the show, asking you various and sundry questions. I hope we don't catch you too off guard, but basically I just want to get your take on exactly what's happening in Ukraine. And right off the bat, did you witness all the videotape of the huge amount of Russian choppers and such flying over the Crimea?
I did. I actually talked to my mom today. She told me that Putin's actually sent his actually secret military army to Crimea right now. That's why it's occupied. So that's what's going on. And there's no way that he can prove that he thinks that Ukrainians are trying to kill Russians, that's why he's trying to give all the Ukrainians like Russian passports and tell them that they hate Ukraine. Like, did you see all the things that I posted?
Yes, I did. I saw quite a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like the majority. Like, that's the biggest problem right now that's going on.
And what else is your mom having to say? I mean, is this going to go into a full-blown war?
A civil war, yeah. Like, that's what they think's going to happen.
Well, the civil war we got. I mean, I can pretty much get that from what we're seeing on TV. But I mean, with Putin throwing everything at the Crimea, trying to protect his pipeline interests and his access to water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Are the Oompa Loompas going to join us here in a few minutes, or?
Oh, did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, that's Dave's phone. He has crazy ringtones on.
That's funny. That's
Sorry.
funny.
No,
that's because I was texting him to tell him to be quiet in the background.
Oh, you can hear him too?
Yeah, it doesn't actually sound like the headset's plugged in. It sounds like you're talking over the computer mic, but it's okay. We can hear you.
Sorry guys, I don't know. This is not even like my headset. I have no idea what this looks like. It's from like the 80s. It's really huge, like these huge headphones.
It's
Anyways.
cool. Yeah. So, keep going on, what's going on over there. I mean, we talked a little bit yesterday, when I postulated having you onto the show and you graciously accepted. So you kind of were giving me the background on the history of Ukraine and how they were going along with Russia and, with the EU battle back and forth. And so go ahead and dive into that. Give everybody the background on how this whole
revolution started?
Yeah, come about.
Okay, sure. That's pretty easy. So basically, ever since the Soviet Union collapsed, like in the late 80s, like 89, Ukraine didn't become independent until 1991, August of 1991. That's actually the same year that I was born. So after that, for like the next, how old am I? I'm 23 years old. The next 23 years, like we didn't have independence. We were still tied to Russia somehow. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we were still technically like a state of theirs because we depended on them.
You had your own president, your own parliament, but basically you were doing exactly what he said.
I mean, come on. Like, look. Like, now that this, like, all their lies and all their bullshit's, like, exposed to the world, like, I'm so happy that this happened, you know? Now, like, Ukraine, like, people actually know, like, what Ukraine is, like, where it is.
Right.
Before, like, you're Ukraine, they thought that I was Russian.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they always had that stereotype, and I hated that.
Just like Belarus, they think Belarus is still part of Russia.
Oh, Belarus, God, they have it even worse than we do. Like, they're so bad. They actually had an uprising a few years ago, and what happened, like, they had the same thing that they had. They had, like, barricades and everything, and then the riot police ended up killing, like, so many people, and, like, the regime became even stricter, so they completely fell off the map. Like, I don't know, like, it's probably, like, exactly like North Korea or something, I don't know. I don't really look into it, but yeah. They have a lot worse off than we do. I meant in Ukraine.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about the history, though. I mean, when we were speaking last night, you said, you've heard about the Holocaust and what happened with the Jews. We had it 10 times worse in the Ukraine back then. So, let's get into that and postulate that forward to what we're seeing today and to how this uprising came about and where you think it's going to go from here.
Well, basically, I can tell you the mindset of the people. Like, the reason why they started this whole revolution is because he denied the EU agreement, which, I mean, come on. You know, as soon as he did that, he knew that this would happen. Because people, they've been waiting for this for years, So as soon as he did that, a few young people, like maybe like my age, 2, 3 guys and 1 girl, went to Kyiv and started protesting. Like, do you remember that?
Yes.
And then one of the security people or someone, like, he beat up the girl. And it's like, that's the only reason why, like, this revolution started, because he beat up the girl. And so many people started going, to the Capitol to protest, they beat up the girl. And then it blew up and, like, through this whole thing. And, like, I'm surprised it even came to this, but I'm so happy. Anyways, going back to my story, where this all started was back in the 90s, like, everything was all criminal acts. It was all based on Russia. Like, it wasn't really a country. You had to get visas in order to leave. The fact that I'm still here, like, that I came here was because I have a green card. Like my mom had to win a green card, and back then it was 1 out of 15,000 people had to win it a year, so that was a big deal. Gonna ask me questions because I'm like all over the place here.
Well, when the girl got beat up, I think she was a reporter or something, wasn't she? I'm not exactly sure the whole background of that, but
I'm not either.
Right, several thousand people showed up in Maidan,
right,
to protest the police brutality, and then about a week into that, all of a sudden the government decided, hey, we're going to pass this law that you can't protest, and then everybody was like, oh, really? F you. Yep. And then they came out by the thousands. And I guess basically that's what kind of turned it from, against police brutality and the police state kind of shit to we don't want the government anymore. So out you go.
Yeah.
And then kind of go into how did all this spill over into Crimea? Cause Crimea is like its own independent.
Okay. Well, because basically a little background history, Ukraine technically is divided, the West and the East. The West is majority has Ukrainian, they speak Ukrainian language. The East speaks Russian because, it's closer to Russia. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, well, actually, to go even further back, like maybe 100 years ago, when Stalin killed all those people back in the famine, well, he killed all those people in the eastern side of Ukraine and put his Russian people there, And of course, they don't love that country. They don't want to be there. They love Russia, and they grew up there hating the country. That's why that entire side of the country is like complete shit,
And that's like 1,000 miles from Kiev, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And so, especially Crimea, it's the majority of them speak Russian, and there's a lot of Tatars. Don't know if you guys know what those are.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of those natives live there. That's their land, even though it's part of Ukraine, but we let them live there, because it's their land. So that's that. I don't know. And the fact that that's going on over there, I feel like, I know that the western side, like Lviv, that's where I'm from, I know that they want to keep the country together, but the eastern side wants to break apart. Kyiv doesn't know what to do. I have no idea what's going to happen right now. I'm like sitting there biting my nails. Every single day I get on Facebook, I'm like, I don't know. My entire newsfeed, I've actually deleted a lot of people off my newsfeed just so I can read more about Ukraine every day.
So you don't have to see all the other cat pictures and
right. I mean, because I'm from there, so I kind of feel guilty that I'm here. I should be over there fighting for them and my country.
Now, when I was kind of tagging you in a couple of things that I got on Facebook, a couple of RT reports, and you're kind of letting me know in a not so subtle way that a lot of the RT shit is it's
bullshit. It's
right, propaganda. It's kind of like
it's kind of like Russia's e-news, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even though they don't have celebrities, but it's like politics. The politics might as well be like, Hollywood, because it's bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Okay.
But a lot of the stories about America, I think, are true. Because I read about it, then, you kind of like look into it.
Well, yeah, they whipped up dirt all over us.
Yeah.
It's not that, but if it's in-house, it's going to be like us watching the MSM here to find out what happened in the United States. You're not going to get the truth.
Right, but I know, and I can tell you for a fact, when they say something about Ukraine, they always flip it around and make it seem like it's our fault when it's literally their fault.
Right.
I promise you. And I can prove it to you.
So, let me ask you about the whole terrorist cell that comes out of Ukraine and,
what terrorist cell?
Well, they're talking about, when Sochi was getting ready to happen, they said that there was going to be people coming down from the Ukraine that were going to try to blow up Sochi and. Yeah,
I mean, come on, right? Like, they always do that. They've done this for like centuries.
Well, yeah, is that like, I mean, are those false flag events? Like, is there Spetsnaz going in there and setting off bombs and blaming it on the rebels in the Ukraine,
Yeah, like, it's like, this is what Russia does exactly.
Or Chechnya. I guess Chechnya is where most of it comes out of, but.
Yeah, even that's Russia does exactly what we do to like the Middle East. They're like, oh, terrorists, when we're the ones that are terrorists. Right. You know what I mean? Right. That's exactly the same bullshit. Like,
just wanted to get that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Up.
Sorry for my bluntness, but yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you know a whole lot about this guy down in Crimea, the one that's making all the videos. I guess he's a convicted felon. Right, but he wants to be president. He ran for parliament and got a seat in parliament.
Which guy?
What's his name? Hang on, let me pull up a video, or let me pull up a website here. The one that was slapping around the prosecutor in that video I tagged you in.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Okay, the guy that showed up with the weapon?
Yeah, it's not Yanukovych, that's the president. Who was that guy? What's his name? I'll find it here in a minute. But anyway, go ahead and keep going with your story.
Where was I? I got it. I found it. Like an animal? Is that what the video?
Yeah.
And that's the one I commented on.
Right. You said it was propaganda.
Yeah, I was like, RT starting bullshit propaganda.
Right. But the guy that was, I couldn't understand what he was saying because he was speaking in Ukrainian, but you know, he grabbed that prosecutor by the tie and smacked him around, smacked him in the head a little bit, told him to sit down and shut up and blah, blah, blah. But he's,
Mushchenko.
Okay.
Alexander's Mushchenko.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
That's him. They're bleeping it out and we can't even understand.
Too bad you guys can't understand. It's so funny.
Barged into a prosecutor's office in central Ukraine and attacked an employee while demanding to see the prosecutor.
Right. That's the one I'm talking about. So this guy is like a member of parliament, or he has a seat in the government or whatever. And now he's threatening.
Right sector radical movement is what the RT says. So that's why there's that radical tinge from RT.
Anybody that wants to keep their guns and have freedom is a radical, right?
Right.
Okay. So, because in this scenario, Putin's kind of looking like Bronco. You know what I mean? He doesn't want anybody messing with his game. He's got his game rolling. He doesn't want anybody messing with his game. So he said, a couple of months ago, we're going to kill anybody that tries to do any terrorism inside the inside Russia. He said that plain. Well, but what I'm saying is, okay, so this guy in Crimea, the Slappy John guy, he's threatening everybody. He said, come get my gun, come get my knives, try it, go ahead, come. So is he like calling Putin out? Is he calling, I guess Yanukovych doesn't really have any power anymore because he fled, but, is that, so what are we going to see? Are we going to see Crimea try to split off from Ukraine? Are we going to see Ukraine split into two factions,
Again, like I said, the West Side does not want that. The West Side and Kyiv, like the majority of people that live in Kyiv. Well, Kyiv actually, because the Maidan's there. They want Ukraine to stay together. They do not want to give their land away to Russia. Like, why would they want that? Just because, Russians live there or Tatars live there doesn't mean that we should give that land away. It's still our land, right?
Right.
So, that's what. Again, I'm not from the East. I don't know how they think. I'm from the West, and I live here. But majority of the people do want to keep the land. And I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it doesn't turn into a war. Because, God, I don't know.
How close is it getting to your family?
Well, majority of my family is on the border of Ukraine and Poland, so, they're pretty safe. But, when there's a war, the whole entire country suffers.
Yeah, and you never know where it's going to show up either.
Exactly, and then I'm not going to have a country to go visit, It's all teary-eyed here.
And you were you were thinking about going over there in June. Your mom wanted you to go over there in June.
So my mom keeps asking me, and I'm like, I don't know, because I'm also trying to do school in the summer too, trying to accelerate classes and all that. But I'm not using that as an excuse. But at the same time, I'm scared, but I don't want to tell her that. But she's like, no, we should go. We should totally go and put flowers down. And I do want to do that. But then again.
So are you just going to kind of, for the next month or two, keep your eye to the news and see what's happening?
Yeah,
and
definitely. That's exactly what I'm doing, yeah.
So what's going to be your drawing line, whether you go or not? If there's still fires burning in Maidan?
No. Well, we basically want to fly through Lviv to Kyiv, go to the Maidan, just walk around, just look at everything, and then fly back from Kyiv to Lviv, and then just stay in Lviv. And Lviv's pretty safe because there's no crime there. It's completely the people have power. Like that was the first city that overthrew the government or overthrew their region. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember if I posted that, but yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so my entire family lives over there on that side. I have a few cousins that live in Kyiv. My cousin owns his own law firm. His second cousin or third cousin has another law firm. They have a lot of I have a lot of family over there too, distant family. As far as eastern side, I don't know. I know that my cousin goes to school in Kharkiv, which is like, it's exactly where Yanukovych fled to from Kyiv when he got kicked out. I don't know if he's still there. Apparently he's living in Putin's guest bedroom. I don't know.
Well, yeah, he gave the press conference early this morning, USA time from, what the hell's the name of that place? Something Maidan or?
Maidan?
No, not Maidan. I can't remember what the name of the city was. Hang on a second. I know RT's going to have it in there. But he gave a press conference this morning that said that, he didn't, he felt bad about letting the riots go on. He should have done something a little earlier to bring the violence under control.
Come on. Did you see that video? There was another one. Did you see the one where
he said he's ashamed and guilty?
Yes. Did you see? Come in. Dave's coming in the room. Oh, crap. Door's locked. I'm sorry. Did you see the video where he snapped his pen in half, like right before he started talking?
Yeah.
And he's like, I just want to apologize in front of everyone. And then, but why would you snap a pen and then keep talking? Like that's kind of, especially before an apology speech.
Here's RT's little article on his speech this morning. It says ousted Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych pledges to fight for Ukraine. Mm-hmm. He addressed a press conference in southern Russia, appearing in public for the first time since he fled Kiev amid bloody riots. Dozens of international reporters have flocked to the southern city of Rostov-on-Don. That's it. And the fugitive Ukrainian president announced he would hold a press conference there. Before anyone was allowed to ask any questions, Yanukovych decided to set the record straight by saying he considers himself the only legitimate president of Ukraine. Now, he has international warrants out for his arrest, right?
Oh, yeah.
For murder and amongst other things. And then we talked yesterday also about the reporters going through his palace that he had after he fled on his little helicopters.
Well, wasn't that a great story?
All kinds of stolen articles and artifacts from Ukraine. So go into that a little
1600s. Like they found a book, the first book ever printed in Ukraine, and it's from Lviv. Like it was printed in Lviv in 1517, I believe. It's called like the Apostle. Let me Google that real quick. But yeah, they found it in his house. Like, that was supposed to be in a historic museum, and they found it in his home.
Yeah, he had gold statues.
Mm-hmm. Amongst gold statues and other things.
And this place was like 50
gas
rooms.
Pump. Did you guys see the gas pump, too?
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Had two helipads sitting out back with two helicopters. Yeah, yep. And this place was like 50 rooms. I mean, it was a giant palace for one man. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he's got family and all that BS, but you know what I mean? That's just ridiculous. See,
he has a few sons and a daughter, I think.
But yeah, there's people living in the streets and stuff, and you know what I mean? Come on. It's just like here. We've got people that have 4, 5, and 6 homes in this country.
Do you know how bad it is? Do you know how bad the corruption is? There are cities in Ukraine, or not cities, rather, villages, just like maybe 1,000 people or less. And he steals money from them so that the schools close down, the hospitals close down, like all the grocery stores close down, and then like the people still live there, right? They have no way of like getting, to another city. Imagine like you don't have a car or something. Like how are they supposed to survive? How are the kids supposed to, go to school? That's how bad it got, like to the point like the people had no choice but to revolt. And it was like that, like nationwide.
So he goes on to say in his little press conference that no one has ousted me. I had to leave Ukraine because of direct threats to my life and the lives of my family.
Right, but how many people did you kill?
Yeah.
Right.
As he says, as you know, the power in Ukraine has been seized by a national fascist-like fellows representing the absolute minority of Ukrainians. The only existing way out of the situation is fulfilling all that was stipulated in the February 21 agreement between the president of the Ukraine and the opposition, with participation of foreign ministers of France, Germany, and Poland, and a representative of the Russian Federation. So he's calling your people fascists, right-wingers, neo-Nazis. What's all that shit about?
Oh, that's all. It's always been the case. They call us Banderovцы. That's basically comes from, I don't remember his first name, but his last name was Banderov, and he was like the first Ukrainian guy, like back in, I don't know, back when Russia was first trying to like separate from Ukraine, or I'm sorry, Ukraine was trying to first separate from Russia, like centuries ago. Anyways, and he was actually the one that started killing, like, Moskali were Russians. Like, that's what we call the Russians, were Moskali. And so he started killing them. So that's the whole thing. Like, they started calling them Banderisты. And, bro, where was I going with this story? I'm reading about the book also. I'm sorry.
Right.
What did you ask me?
Well, I'm just, he was, he's trying to say that he's sorry, that he should have.
Correct. Okay, right. So basically, he goes back Ukrainian people are peaceful. Like, they never want to hurt anyone. We don't want to kill Russians, like, unless we have to. Basically, like, in this case, we have to kill Yanukovych, because he killed our people. We're just doing exactly what we have to do. And because of that, he's calling us fascists. Because he's out for murder.
Yeah, that's, like, but he's going into neo-Nazi,
exactly.
He's calling you guys. Yeah, so.
Whatever. He's still using those old, like, historic, like, stupid terms and calling us those names. It's so stupid. Like, if you go online, like look at all those, like, memes and all those jokes about him. Mm-hmm. Like, I sit here and I, like, start crying, laughing, because it's just so funny. Like, I just hope that he sits at home and cries to sleep every night.
And for the life of me,
he's such an idiot. Like, he's so stupid.
I can't remember what that woman's name is in the wheelchair.
Timoshenko.
Okay. So let's go into her for a minute, because mm-hmm. There's people that hate her too. I mean, it's like they don't.
I'll tell you why. I don't know much about the story, but I know that she got canned and put in prison because she stole money.
Right.
I don't know the details about it. I don't, probably, because I know that Yanukovych didn't like her. I think I feel like. But
do the people like her? I mean, what did she do? Did she run against him or something?
No, she's just a really good actress. She pretended like she was, acting for the people, for the better good. She pretended like she didn't do all those things that she did. That's why after she left prison, she went up on stage in her wheelchair in those high-ass heels. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I noticed that.
And her high-ass heels, and what she said, she had back problems.
Yeah, the whole wheelchair thing was just for...
Like, come on. Like vote
grabbing.
And she was standing there, like, with, no makeup. It was funny because I put hashtag no filter.
But she... what was the whole reason to throw her... I mean, if she was only an actress and she was just doing a little activism,
I'll tell you why.
Out or whatever...
Why? Because she's trying to save her reputation. She's trying to save herself. She still wants to make some sort of money if she can, because she knows that country, might not make it, or, she probably doesn't know what's going to happen either.
So she's running for president?
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't look into her. I don't know what's going on. All I know is that people do not want her.
Then why was she let out of prison? I mean, did she serve her whole term and just happen to get out, or did they release?
Why? Because they returned the old constitution back to 2004, and they released all the prisoners that Yanukovych imprisoned.
Oh, when they ousted him, I got it.
Right.
Now I follow. I thought that she was put in prison for, and never mind. Anyway. Yeah. So, and I kind of got off on a tangent too. So but you said nobody wants her either. So, I mean, who's going to be around if this whole revolution keeps going and Yanukovych stays out of power, they delegitimize him or whatever's going to happen?
Oh, he's gone.
But if he's staying at Putin's house,
right, he'll live there forever. If he wants to live, a pathetic life and never walk outside because he's scared, yeah, sure. But if he does ever walk outside and walk into Ukrainian, I'm sorry, what?
Kind of like Julian Assange.
Yeah. And, so basically, because I keep reading all these things, every time they post a picture of Yanukovych, I read, I go so deep into the comments, and there's always replies, and I go so deep, and people are always like, man, we're gonna find him. Where are you at? Are you there? And, people try to, try to do, communities and, find him if he's ever over there. Because back in Ukraine and Russia, that's, what they're trying to do over there. He's so wanted. He's, the most wanted man over there right now. But anyways, my point is that's how badly we want him dead.
He said, let's see, Yanukovych received a lot of questions on Russia's role as possible actions in the Ukrainian crisis. Mm-hmm. While saying it's not correct to tell Moscow what to do, Yanukovych said that he believes Russia cannot abandon Ukraine as its fate to its fate, and it should use all possible means to prevent chaos and terror in the neighboring country. So evidently he's asking for Putin's help, and Putin obviously threw the ball in because, the video I saw, there was probably 50 helicopters flying over. I think they were going from the ocean into Crimea, across Crimea into southern Ukraine.
Right.
Well, no, I mean, they were,
the army men, like they had unidentified suits and stuff.
Right. There was no flags or anything like that. But, I've heard rumors of Spetsnaz being in there on the ground already. I've heard rumors of, we know for a fact that CIA is working with the, what do you want to call them? Rebels? Mm-hmm. What do you want to call them?
Which, the activists? Opposition?
Activists, opposition, whatever. Okay, activists, yeah. Opposition kind of sounds bad, yeah. So, we know that the U.S. has their thumb stuck in the middle of it.
Right.
Now, Bronco got on mic and camera this morning and actually didn't have his teleprompter set up. He had to read off a piece of paper, so he kind of looked foolish. But he's saying that he's kind of throwing little, vague threats out there, saying Russia needs to leave it alone, let Ukraine handle their own business. They're a sovereign nation. That's kind of hypocritical to the max, yeah? I mean, since we have CIA over there messing around.
What do you mean hypocritical to?
It's hypocritical for Bronco to tell Putin to keep his nose out of it when we've got our nose in it. He's trying to tell Putin.
Absolutely. Now I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, just look at it. Everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie. You know what I mean? Everyone's trying to see what Ukraine's going to do next. Russia doesn't want to let go. Russia's the jealous ex-boyfriend of Ukraine. I keep saying that to everyone, and it's true. Like, without Ukraine, Russia's nothing.
Chuck O'Celli joined us for the last 10 minutes.
I probably shouldn't say that out loud because I'm sorry to offend
you can say whatever
Russians.
you want. You can say whatever you want to say on here.
I'm not going to lie, because I don't know if there's other people listening. I'm half Russian. My blood is 50-50. Because my mother is half Russian, half Ukrainian, so is my dad. My mom's mom and my dad's dad is Russian. So anyways.
But your heart's in Ukraine.
Correct. Because I was born there.
And your family's in Ukraine.
Right. But anyways, so I don't mean to offend anyone that's Russian. I'm just saying that I just don't want Putin, the government. I don't like the government of Russia. There we go.
Yeah, we don't like
I don't want them to destroy my country. Yes.
Boiler Room Radio is all for anarchy. So.
Yeah. Right? That's right.
And Chuck O'Celli has joined us for the last 10 minutes of the show. Okay. Thanks for joining in, Chuck. What do you want to add?
All right, Jim. You got me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I got you.
Just making
sure there. I wasn't sure if my switch was right there for a second.
Got a little buzz in it, but you're okay. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that. What I was curious about is what they're doing as far as the border controls go right now, because I've heard a couple different things about them trying to control people as far as letting them over different sides of the border there. Do you know anything about that, Olga?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Or
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. No, as far as people being able to cross borders over there, aren't they having some trouble moving freely right now?
That I don't know. I would believe so, because the country's kind of in a crisis right now. They don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know. I can ask my mom real quick. I see she's online now.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I've heard conflicting reports about who's got control over that right now.
Right.
In addition, the other thing that I was curious about was your view on the whole Klitschko thing, which keeps being brought up by a lot of people. The Obama situation, that is coming about mainly as just sort of a public relation ploy. That's nonsense. That's just saber rattling for the sake of something else. Don't think, I mean, I know it's a contradiction in terms, but we got to think about that in a whole other way. You take a step back and you think about that. That's a strategic decision. But I was wondering what your viewpoint on Klitschko was and what you knew about those border controls right now.
See, same with Klitschko. He's just another celebrity he became a leader, activist, and so he's going to be running for president in the May elections. Like, that's all I know. Again.
Well, he was adopted by some of the people. Like, in other words, he wasn't one of the people that sort of seeded the opposition, but he's being brought in so that they have a noticeable figurehead in the public's eye, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, does he seem? He's supposed to be well educated and all that, and he has been active and spoken out about a few things. But I was just curious as to whether there was a particular attitude in the public, like as if he was an actual contender, actually, for serious, to be taken seriously there, or is this just another public relation thing on the part of the opposition?
I do think it is a public relation thing. I remember him being on the front line when the riot police and the activists were fighting, and I do remember him getting in between them and trying to break them apart. Then he kind of got hit.
Yeah, when they were starting to beat the crap out of the cops.
Yeah, remember
and
that?
With the sticks. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think from that moment on, he became popular, and they wanted him to become one of the leaders, and he started talking on stage a lot more. He actually went to go see Yanukovych and talk to him secretly, and then when the public found out, they kind of yelled at him. I don't know if you heard a story about that.
Is he former politics, or,
no,
is he just
he's not.
nobody?
I don't know, but I really, because I'm reading about him right now. No, he's not. He just, I think, became
just Joey Bag of Donuts that happen to get on camera.
Kind of like Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Became the governor.
Yeah,
I don't know. It happens. Yeah.
No, it absolutely happens, and I thought he'd be a useful figurehead for those guys.
Right.
And him and his brother are both fairly well educated for athletes, that's for sure, and they're known worldwide. So it would give a face to. Yeah, it would give a face. Well, no, they're regular boxers. Both of them held heavyweight championships, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is that he was coming out as a useful figurehead, and I know that there was some film released with him being active with, like you said, getting in between there and all that. Mm-hmm. But I was just curious as to whether there was a viewpoint among the people as to whether he was sincere, or he was somebody who's basically just being used by the opposition or not.
I do believe he's sincere. Whether he's used or not, I don't know. I hope not, though. I don't think that he would be a good president because I just don't think he has experience. I don't know why he would be running.
You never know. That might actually be a plus for him.
Yeah, you goddamn right, man. Because look at the politicians we got now. Those people are worthless. You know what I mean?
Experience does not count for effectiveness here, so I don't see why that wouldn't apply there.
The only thing you need to be a good leader is compassion and a little bit of education, some gray matter between your ears.
Well, plenty of education would be awesome.
Yeah, well, and you can get education from all different walks of life. It doesn't have to be from a book.
Oh, of course.
So, but the whole border situation, Chuck, is a good question. You might not even be able to fly home come June, depending on what's happening over there.
My mom keeps saying that everything's fine, but then again, I want to make sure. And I'll get that answer for you, so don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was curious as to who was actually, trying to really keep people in place and who was letting people move, because that's an important issue. Because the thing is, if the Russians are trying to, say, contain the people there, and not allowing them free movement, that's going to change the landscape significantly, and it's going to turn a lot of people against them if they're trying to constrain their movements even more than usual. But if you have the existing government or the previously existing government, depending on how you look at it, keeping people in place, then that's a whole other story, and that's why I wanted to know who was really trying to who was trying to contain people and restrict their access to being able to, cross borders.
Well, it's definitely Putin. He wants to keep the Russians there, to use them to protest against to protest against the opposition. Basically, he wants to win this. He wants to make sure that he has power over Ukraine somehow, one way or the other. Whether it be Crimea, whether it be one little dot on the map, he needs to have power. And we all know this.
Absolutely.
That's what a dictator does.
Absolutely. Is there any other impressions as far as him trying to send in, say, any sort of additional adjutants to the situation from the outside as well?
He's going to try to use every tool in his box. So far he's trying to say that Ukrainians are killing Russians on Ukrainian soil, or something like that, along those lines. Every day it's a different story, in his tabloids, his newspaper's tabloids.
Yeah, in his state-controlled media, he's trying to paint the Ukrainians. Right, he's trying to paint the Ukrainians as, violating the lives and the rights of Russian citizens, so that he has an excuse, as sort of a prerequisite to step in. I understand that, but the thing is, I was just curious as to, who seems to really be the aggressor as far as trying to really clamp down on people. I mean, is it just Putin, or are we looking at an internal struggle that has spilled over? Which way do the people really see it?
the aggressor is definitely Putin. It is definitely Putin and his puppet Yanukovych.
I've seen stories of where the police are actually taking their helmets off and laying their shields down and walking over to the other side. So, you know,
they started doing that.
Yeah, I think that everybody's eyes are starting to get woke up to the corruption that's happening over there, and the same thing's happening down in Crimea. They're trying to say that the Tartars are killing Russians down there. Nobody wants any. You know, they've got signs posted everywhere. You're either with us or you're with Russia. Yep. You know, there's ropes hanging from trees with nooses tied on the ends of and shit. So, I mean, that's all a bunch of propaganda.
It's amazing how much chaos and, like, propaganda causes. You know, just one little lie. Like,
right. You got to find some good people that are on the ground there and get their Twitter accounts, and that's the only way you're really going to find out what's happening.
Right, that's what's been going on. That's the reason why this thing has been so successful, is because they've used social media.
I do have one question from the room. Meat Dog. I got one question for you from the room.
Okay.
Meat Dog 17 wants to know, since we're on the subject of Ukraine, how's it going to end? How's it going to play out? Like Egypt, Libya, Syria, or God forbid, Iraq?
So
what do you get everybody's take on that?
No, I'm sorry. I have a question for you. What do you mean Libya, Syria, or Iraq? Because are you trying to say that this has something to do with America?
Well, no,
are we trying to westernized Ukraine?
Well, no, I think, you know, Barry's got his sticking his nose in the situation, but I mean, how do you think it's going to play out just Ukraine-wise?
Let me tell you, because as far as, Syria is a different story than Ukraine. Like, Syria does not even have a central banking system. Ukraine does. We've had private banks since the 90s. So.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, do you think Russia's going to step in like the United States stepped in Syria and Iraq, and you know what I mean? Is it going to wind up like that?
No, I think from here on out, I do honestly feel like Ukraine's going to from now on be its own country. But I feel like the struggle to get there, like, it's going to cost a lot of lives and, you know, a lot of blood. Especially now because of what Putin's doing. Until Putin loses power, I don't think Ukraine's going to ever be a normal country. Or at least till the Russian government loses that much power over Ukraine, we won't ever be able to be normal, like, to have a normal country.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, well, it's just the foreign interference. That was the, the main thing, because it's very hard to sort out. And I'm wondering, how it's really impacting the people there, because, you know, in some of those cases with the Arab Spring and also with previous, former, Soviet satellites, we've seen that the foreign agitators have really tipped the scales in various ways, and in some ways that weren't immediately self-evident. So I really would love to know, and I don't know if you know this, Olga, but I mean, does it seem like the people there are understanding that they have a lot of foreign agitators that are trying to influence stuff, because they haven't shut down the social media yet, like they have in other places. And to me, it seems as though unless they want this situation to be as volatile as it is, the Russians would have already stepped in and clamped down on that stuff. I mean, have you seen any sort of restrictions there? Or
about 30 seconds, Olga.
I'm sorry. I'm good. I'm glad that you brought this up. The reason why they did it at this time was because they did it before the Olympics. So Putin was preoccupied, and it blew up so quick because of the social media. That's the only reason why I believe that it is what it is now, and that we got a lot of attention.
So Putin's guy who should have done that was kind of asleep at the switch because of the Sochi situation.
Yep.
Nice.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Sorry, you guys. Thanks, Olga, for coming on.
All right, bye, guys.
Tomorrow night, live radio again, the Ocelli Effect, 8 to 10. Stay tuned for After the Last Cup after that. Thanks, Lance. Thanks, Chuck, for calling in. We'll see you guys later on. Behave yourselves. Love and peace.